This video is a PowerPoint instruction regarding writing the multi-paragraph essay. Our essential question for this video is, what are the components of a formal essay? Let's begin. I'll begin our instruction by stating that writing is not a formula, which is a little bit ironic because I'm about to teach you a formula for writing formal essays. And I wanted to make a point at the beginning of this video to state this, to remind you of the importance that writing is an art form. It is entirely evolving. Writers are never finished, it's just due. But in order for you to become a master of language and composition, it is essential that you have a baseline to start at. So that is why I teach you this formula as sort of your building blocks of your writing skill set. In case you did not know this already, an essay is a piece of writing that gives thoughts or commentary about a subject. We'll be writing several of these throughout the school year. There are 9 parts of the essay: the introductory paragraph, the thesis, which is part of the introduction, body paragraphs, topic sentences, concrete details, commentary, concluding sentences, and the conclusion paragraph. So this is kind of a general outline of what we'll be dissecting today. In the pre-writing process, this is what we do before we begin actually writing our essays. Now, the first step in pre-writing is to gather your concrete details. We'll talk about exactly what concrete details are in just a minute, but that's the first thing you do after you develop your thesis. In our class, I provide you with outlines for every major formal writing assignment. They look something like this. This is just the upper part of a piece of paper that you may receive for an essay prompt. Okay, let's talk about the very first paragraph in a formal essay. It is called the introduction. You should be familiar with the idea of hooks, which is the first thing that you write in your introduction. It could be 1 or 2 sentences, probably no more than 3, but this is how you get your reader's attention. It can be a personal story or experience or a relevant fact or statistic, but it is important that we avoid using questions. I know that you probably use questions a lot in middle school, but we have to kind of graduate from that crutch and move on a little bit and try to come up with more complex attention hooks. One way to help us sort of grow out of our habit of writing questions as hooks is, if a hook that's a question comes to your mind, simply restate it into a sentence. So if you were going to write a paper and your hook said, "Have you ever been in a life or death situation?" Instead of asking the question, instead say, "Many people may face life or death situations." Do you see how one of those hooks is much more substantial, sophisticated sounding? Exactly. That's why you need to avoid using questions. After you've established your hook, again 1 to 3 sentences at the most, this is where you begin your background information. This is the bridge between your hook and your thesis. Now, you've already written your thesis, and we'll talk about specifically how to create a thesis in just a minute. But the thesis is always the first thing that you need to write before beginning your essays. So depending on what your hook discusses, the background information is really where you address the texts that are being discussed, the information presented, just kind of a brief sneak peek as to how the hook relates to the thesis. And again, the thesis is a sentence, and it's almost always at the end of the introduction, and it has a subject and an opinion. This is where you make your claim about the topic of your essay. So let's work with theses a little bit more specifically. Here is an example thesis that you can kind of see addresses the 3 components of a strong thesis. I've listed them here. The first component of a strong thesis is that it brings in the topic. The second is that it takes a position or an opinion about the subject. And the third component of a strong thesis is that it lists why he or she, the author, whomever you are, takes that position. So if this topic is asking if labs should use animals to test out human products, such as lotion or makeup, a strong example thesis would state something like, "Animals are often mistreated during animal testing of human products, and this cruelty needs to end because it harms the animals and because the testing results are often inconclusive, making the testing irrelevant." Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. The first first component of a strong thesis is bringing in the topic. They do that within the first clause of their first sentence. Animals are often mistreated during animal testing of human products. So now we know exactly what their topic is. Number 2, they take a position on the topic, and that happens immediately following that first clause, when they say, this cruelty needs to end. The last component of a strong thesis is acknowledged after the word because. It harms the animals and because the testing results are often inconclusive, making the testing irrelevant. So this is a very strong thesis, addresses those 3 components of a strong thesis. Okay, now it's your turn. Your topic is, should public schools enforce a dress code? I've given you a template here, so you can copy this down in your notes. Public schools blank, so there you would write should or should not have a dress code because blank and blank. So provide 2 reasons. See if you can come up with your own thesis using this template. I'll give you just a minute. Okay, hopefully you came up with a strong thesis. Hopefully you paused and then came back to this video. You could have said something like, public schools should have a dress code because it allows others to be less distracted by their personal clothing and because it's simply easier to get ready in the morning. Right? Those are 2 solid reasons that public schools should use a dress code. Now I want you to practice writing a thesis without a template. So here's your topic. What is the most important subject in school? Don't forget, you have to incorporate those 3 elements of a strong thesis, and I've not given you a template. So pause the video, write down your own thesis, and then we'll see how you did. Okay, moving on to the body paragraph. So you've written your introduction. The next paragraph is going to be a body paragraph. Now typically you have 2 to 3 body paragraphs in an essay. Within the body paragraph are certain components that make a strong paragraph. The first sentence in the body paragraph is a topic sentence, also known as a TS, so sometimes I'll refer to it in an abbreviated form. This is the first sentence in the body paragraph. It introduced the topic. It's kind of like a sneak peek of what's to come just within the paragraph. Immediately following the topic sentence is your concrete detail. This is tangible evidence like a direct quote or a citation found within text that supports the argument of your thesis. Okay, this is the proof that you and your position are correct. Then following your evidence, your concrete detail, or also known as your CD, is your commentary or your CM. This is your own writing where you explain how that concrete detail connects to your thesis. This is where you analyze and create support for your argument. Then the last sentence in a body paragraph is the concluding sentence. This wraps up the whole paragraph. Usually a good trick to create a good concluding sentence is to simply paraphrase or rephrase your topic sentence in a new way. Okay, so within the paragraph you have to have certain ratios. For every concrete detail in your paragraph, you have to have at least 2 sentences of commentary. This is called a chunk. So whenever I refer to a chunk, I'm talking about 1 CD, 2 sentences of commentary. You may have more than 2 sentences of commentary, but 2 sentences is the minimum that you have to create strong analysis and commentary in your writing. Again, here's a reminder, in case you forget, a chunk from the Goonies, 1 concrete detail, 2 sentences of commentary. Okay, topic sentence. We're going to go dive into this aspect of your body paragraph a little bit in more depth. So if you think about topic sentences, they're kind of like markers on a highway. They let your reader know where you're going within your paragraph or what your paragraph will be talking about. So what will this paragraph, I've given you an example here. Based on this topic sentence presented, what do you think this paragraph is going to be talking about? English, or language arts, is the best subject in school because it teaches valuable life lessons. Take a guess. Write it down. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to write a topic sentence for the first body paragraph based on one of your original theses. So going back, you were asked to create a thesis about what is the most important subject in school. I want you to write your own topic sentence based on that thesis. Go ahead and pause and come back. Okay, concrete details. Here we go. This is the what and the where of your body paragraph. These are direct quotes, facts, or statistics, but it has to be tangible and specific evidence. Usually it comes with a citation, and I'll teach you how to use those citations within a separate flipped lesson. Again, just a reminder that CDs should always support the argument behind your thesis. They should never provide background information, and that is what your introduction is for, so don't forget that. The commentary is the why. So like I said before, the concrete details are the what and the where. The commentary is the why. Immediately following your concrete detail or your quote of evidence, this is where you provide that explanation of how it supports your thesis. A specific note on commentary, it's really, really important that you do not use I or other personal pronouns like you, me, us, we. And the rationale behind that is because it just does not sound formal or sophisticated. So here's an example. Instead of saying, I think Katniss is a strong, empowered female character, say Katniss is a strong, empowered female character. Notice the difference. One doesn't sound as confident as the other. One also doesn't sound as sophisticated as the other, so avoid using I or other personal pronouns. Another note on commentary is that you should not be using contractions. Instead of saying don't or can't, say do not or cannot. That is critical. Okay, so let's kind of practice our own commentary a little bit here. Giving you an example of what a body paragraph, concrete detail, and commentary look like. We have our topic sentence. It says, Christmas shopping is a waste of time because people are often harmed in the process. Okay, that's a great topic sentence because we know that that's going to be the focus of their paragraph. Their first concrete detail says, for example, according to Walmart, over 500 people are trampled during the holiday season frenzy known as Black Friday. Okay, that was a fact. There wasn't a direct quote necessarily, but that was a fact, so that makes it a concrete detail. Then notice the following two sentences. It's a chunk, just like we discussed before. One CD gets 2 sentences of commentary at least. Their first CM sentence says, material gifts are not worth the endangerment it causes to others, as exemplified by this statistic. Second sentence, the harm it causes others reflects the greed and selfishness of society. These are not facts. This is the author's own analysis as to how this relates back to their thesis and specifically their topic sentence in this paragraph. Okay, now it's your turn. Here's a topic sentence for you. Fall is a wonderful time of year. Here is your concrete detail. For example, one woman says, every year in New York, the leaves turn from green to beautiful oranges, yellows, and reds. Now, based on your topic sentence and your concrete detail, write 2 original sentences of commentary that connect to this paragraph. Go ahead and pause and come back. Okay, the last sentence in a body paragraph is the concluding sentence. This gives a finished feeling to the paragraph and should restate the topic sentence in a new way. So going back to that previous example that we discussed, what kind of concluding sentence would work best for this paragraph? Try to write your own, pause, and then come back. In case you're wondering, I came up with my own concluding sentence, and I would probably say something like, the fact that people are harmed during the Christmas shopping season supports the idea that it is a waste of time. That goes directly with the topic sentence without restating it word for word. Okay, so here's a reminder of what we just discussed, the body paragraph outline. I would definitely write this down and copy this in your notes. Topic sentence, then comes the concrete detail, 2 sentences of commentary at least, another concrete detail, 2 sentences of commentary, reminder those are your chunks, and then ending with your closing sentence. Alright, so like I said before, there's multiple body paragraphs in an essay, usually 2 to 3, if not more. So between body paragraphs, you have to have a transition. And the transitions are the first part of the topic sentence of all body paragraphs except for the first body paragraph, because you don't need a transition between your introduction and first body paragraph. The reason we use transitions is because it helps readers understand what you just said and then what you're about to say in the next paragraph. So let's go back to our previous example. The Christmas shopping is a waste of time because people are often harmed in the process. We'll remember that paragraph. Let's pretend for a minute that this is the first topic sentence in the second body paragraph. So there's a paragraph before this. But we need to add a transition between that first paragraph and this current one. So if the previous paragraph was discussing that idea that Christmas shopping is a waste of time because gifts are too expensive, what would that topic sentence now sound like? So we'd add a transition before that clause. Pause, come up with your own, see if you can't come up with a strong transition. Here's what I came up with. Not only is Christmas shopping a waste of time because gifts are incredibly expensive, it is also a waste of time because people are often harmed in the process. Hopefully you came up with something similar.